The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They stream all UK and Irish racing live on your mobile, tablet or PC.
Hi, welcome along to the Racing Post Review Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and in the company of my learned Racing Post colleagues Justin O'Hanlon and Alistair Down, and also from Paddy Power, Rob Catterson, we will be looking back on a classic weekend at Epsom and also Shanty, looking ahead to what it all means and hopefully bringing you some early buzzers and horses to be on at fancy prices for Royal Ascot, which of course is coming around next week. We will start, of course, with the Derby at Epsom. Big field, good race, thrilling race. Justin O'Hanlon, we'll start with you. Harzand, what was the view from Ireland about him before the race, and did he do anything that really surprised you in the race?
Yes, he won it.
There you go. You weren't a believer before then, I presume?
Not particularly, no. His Ballysack Stakes win didn't seem to me to be anything out of the ordinary. I would have maybe seen him as possibly a ledger horse at the end of the season, as Dermots do continue to improve throughout the season. I wouldn't have seen him as a Derby winner. I was astonished there was money for him, and I was astonished that he won the race. But you know, fair play to them, and it's a terrific story.
So there was no particular kind of vibe or whisper, particularly because, as you say, the money for him was incredible, wasn't it? Particularly as he had the scare.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say there was a particular vibe. I mean, he was. Yeah, but you know, again, it was such a wide open race that you couldn't really discount anything. But of the Irish horses, I think it probably would have had him behind maybe 4 of the O'Brien horses, and you know, probably behind Moonlight Magic as well. So you know, yeah, I'd say it was, for those observers among us, it was a bit of a surprise. Yeah.
Rob, a bad result, or was it such a wide open race that you could barely have a bad result?
It was a bad enough result in the day. Obviously, he was double figures late the Friday night, and he was definitely the best backed until the news came out about that setback. And like, he's gone off 13-2, and after the news came out what had happened to him and that he was 50-50 to run up till lunchtime, it's probably surprising he went off so short. If US Army Ranger had have won, obviously that would have been the worst result in the book. He was the biggest loser in the anti-post book, and they came for him in the end, so it could have been worse, but there was plenty on him.
Alistair, any hard luck stories? I mean, there were a few people around me who'd backed US Army Ranger and were bemoaning their luck.
I think if you're coming from that far back in the Derby, and he was basically last turning in, was he not? You've got to have a dream run through, and it's an awful lot of ground to make up. Was it inexperience? Could he not go when he wanted to go? He didn't look unlucky, because I thought the winner was pulling out again at the end. I thought the winner was very tough at the end. I think we're almost, although you mentioned it, we're almost underplaying the extraordinary price he went off at, because given that he was 50-50 an hour and a bit before the race, or 2 hours before the race, they came again from him in the most spectacular fashion. That was a real proper punt.
It certainly was. And, I mean, we can never really tell, can we, with the Derby until October, how good the winners are and how good the race is overall. What's your suspicion, Alistair, with this race?
I suspect the first 2 home are very good. Whether the winner is always going to have to be ground assisted, I don't know. I think that is a worry about Harzand. I would be all over him for the Arc if he was still going and flying at that time of year. And
particularly if the floodwater doesn't relent in France.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's snorkels weather out there, isn't it? Well, look, it's hard enough to tell the weather's going to be here tomorrow, let alone in October in the Bois de Boulogne, but I would have thought he had everything for that race.
Don't go to the Bois de Boulogne.
No, certainly not.
Shanty this year.
Oh, yes, it is, isn't it?
It is. I just better get you warned there, Alistair, because you've got various excuses for not being at these places, and I certainly don't want the fact that they've demolished the grandstand being there.
That's a bit hard.
Okay, mate. Only joking. Rob, give us I suppose the next step for all these beasts is Irish Derby, isn't it? So what's the latest from Paddy Power there?
Yeah, as tradition would go, an Irish trained winner of the Epsom Derby goes to the Curragh. So we're 11-8 about Harzand, 13-8 US Army Ranger. Wings of Desire finished 4th at Epsom. John Gosden pretty much said straight after he thought the Curragh would suit him an awful lot better. He's a 6-1 chance. The third on Saturday is Idaho, 7-1. We've included the French Derby winner, given that the new system for the Irish Derby now, if you win a race like the French Derby, you're in that winning your winner, winning you're in policy. He's 10-1 and it's 14 spar. But I think you got to go back to 2004, the last time that the 1-2 from Epsom went to the Curragh, and it looks as though we're going to get it again.
And Justin,
They were 5 lengths clear, of the third on Saturday. There's no reason why those thirds and fourths should get back into it in the Irish Derby, surely.
OK, but would you see the front two flipping, Alistair?
Yeah, that's quite possible. I think that'll be ground dependent.
Well, yeah, exactly. Justin, what about you? If we let's say it's a good ground Irish Derby, which price twinkles brightest in your eye? The 11-8 Harzand or the 13-8 the Ranger?
Oh well, I would almost say that I would expect US Army Ranger to try the tables on Harzand at the Curragh. Be a smaller field, he won't be as far behind, and surely Ryan Moore can't fall asleep for the third classic in a row. What else have I tried? But the horse did use an awful lot of petrol to get there.
Yeah.
To get within half a length of Harzand. He did come from way too far back. He's not going to get as far behind in the Curragh, and it's a fairer track, and I would expect him to turn the tables on him.
And you could tell that it taxed him, because when he almost got to Harzand, he just hung in left. He just, he wasn't strong enough to keep straight at the crucial moment. That was a typical sign of a horse coming to the end of his tether.
OK, well, look, I mean, I think Irish Derby is certainly the next episode in this one. We'll look at the ARC betting later and what that's meant, because obviously there were all sorts of ARC clues going on. But next, I think we better talk about the Oaks.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
OK, Minding on Friday was pretty damn special. It may well rank as one of the worst Oaks in recent years. I think the second is decent. What did you make of Minding, Alistair?
I think to overcome that amount of trouble and win with that authority, it was a question of class coming out, I thought. She was just different gravy to the others. You say it probably wasn't a good Oaks. Most years, it isn't a good Oaks in the sense that there are usually 2 or 3 fillies in there, and the rest flotsam and jetsam. But this filly is kind of different.
She's and Justin, she was in trouble, wasn't she? I mean, I don't know what her lowest speed was throughout the race, but I mean, turning in, she was almost at a standstill, wasn't she?
Oh, banging trouble! Yeah, she came. She was practically stopped in her tracks, and to get out of trouble the way she did in a matter of a few strides was deeply impressive. And there can be no doubt about her stamina. I do think that in all probability she will beat any of the colts that ran in the Derby on Saturday.
Yeah,
when they do meet.
Was that pilot error, or is it just the vagaries of Epsom that sometimes you can find yourself in that sort of pickle? Do you think?
Well, I'm sure differing opinions. I didn't think that Ryan Moore's a great jockey, but I didn't think he shone on either race in either of the classics over the weekend, and especially on Friday.
No, what did you think there, Alistair? Because I mean, I heard some people saying on Twitter it was a great ride by Ryan Moore. It certainly wasn't, was it?
No, I mean, in a sense, you said the vagaries of Epsom, and suddenly the picture of a race can change there. But he was always in a place that could easily turn out to be dangerous, and that's kind of unlike him. I think he was fortunate to get out, but it was two furlongs out. She's got clear room, and there's 2 furlongs left. It's not like he only extricated himself 150 yards from home or anything like that. It was typical Epsom traffic, a bit like the M25, undertaking, overtaking. I think tactically he may be more at fault the day after.
Yeah,
but to have him, Justin is clearly unimpressed by both rides, and I completely see his point. But it's so what we always say about Ramo, he's always in the right place. Well, that's one of his defining characteristics. Well, he wasn't in the right place in either of these races, though I think he was as much the victim of getting mugged in the Oaks as anything.
Yeah, and look, I mean, the thing is, he's clearly still the man, isn't he?
Completely.
He's different, guys. But look, the point I was going to make is we saw those fantastic jockey cam shots again on Saturday, and it just shows how difficult it must be to ride in these races. I mean, most of us be clinging on for dear life, just hoping we survive. He's got to be in the right place. It's just so tough.
It's not a race course. It's a ride that's escaped from Alton Towers. I mean, it just is a really extraordinary test. And I mean, I remember other Oakses, for example, that were just as rough. I mean, Sariska's Oaks. Jamie Spencer didn't miss a horse on the whole way through him. He either bumped them or whacked them or crashed into them. I mean, it was as rough a race as you'll see. I loved it.
It remains to be seen where we will see Minding next, but if she does go for the Irish Oaks, Rob Catterson, how are Paddy Power betting?
Yeah, we've got her priced up in a number of races, but she's 8-13 for the Irish Oaks. Obviously, the filly that she missed on Friday was So Me Dar. She's second favourite at 4s and at 7s bar, so it'd be great that the two of them go head to head. Like, she's so many options. Obviously, the Matron Stakes, she could go head to head with Jess Setting again. Could she do an Oh So Sharp and go for the St Ledger? We have her 5-1 joint favourite for the Arc, and we have her 5-1 favourite for the Eclipse. So, like, everybody's talking about her last Friday, and there's so many options for her.
She's got the toe to drop back to the Eclipse and win over 10 furlongs.
Yeah, I think Ryan.
I'd say 10 furlongs is probably her trip, actually.
I think you're right, Justin, to be honest. I think 10 furlongs, she murder things. I'd go Eclipse, Jumpmont International Road.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great to see her in the Eclipse, Justin, wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And, OK, so that's
her against Postponed, maybe, if Postponed decided to drop back a couple of furlongs, which he could do as well.
He certainly could. Well, let's talk about Postponed. He turned the Coronation Cup into an absolute procession. And, Alistair, I mean, as you'll know from listening to me on these postcards, I can't tell the difference between a good-looking racehorse and a dray horse, but he is some specimen, isn't he? Even more like me can tell. He's some horse, isn't he?
The drays are usually being followed by several gallons of beer. That's always quite a good clue to it. Yes, I think he is. I wouldn't say that I was a paddock judge, just about find the paddock, but I'm pretty useless when you get there. But he does look like a beast, and I mean, he demolished these, didn't he? Absolutely annihilated them.
Is he ruling a fairly weak bunch of older horses, or will he go down when he's finished as one of the real top-notch older horses?
You'd say that in second place, Found is a very decent performer on her day. What are the older horses like? I don't think they're a sensational bunch, and the big question will start being asked very soon is, are the older horses going to be better than the up-and-coming classic generation? I'm not sure.
What prices do we have? If we're Postponed fans, Rob, where can we back him and at what prices?
Well, the King George, I think, is the next port of call. He's the 5-4 favourite for that. Everybody's obviously talking about the Arc. He's 5-1 joint favourite with Minding. You mentioned Harzan a little bit earlier. Alistair reckons he could be Arc bound. He's 10s with New Bay. 12-1 US Army Ranger, Duramente in its 16s bar. But even if the top 4 went to Sean T on the first Sunday of October, what a race we'd have on our hands.
We certainly would. Who's the dangers for the King George? Because that 5-4, I mean, I don't particularly want to tie up a load of money at 5-4 for a race that's 6 weeks away, but
you're learning, Bruce.
You'd be struggling to find one to beat him, wouldn't you, in that?
Yeah, well, it's 8 bar Found. Obviously, she'd every chance at Epsom on Friday or Saturday. She couldn't beat him. Exosphere's 8, US Army Ranger, Fascinating Rock. Like, you look at the 5-4 and you're saying he really only has to turn up.
Yeah, indeed. What do you make of Postponed, Justin? He's a beauty, isn't he?
Oh, he's fantastic on Saturday. I mean, Found is about as solid a yardstick as you can get.
Yeah.
And he just the way he quickened away for her inside the last furlong was deeply impressive. There's no better older horse around at the moment, I would suggest, anyway.
No, absolutely not. And Justin, we'll stay with you. French Derby. Did you tune in to see Monsieur Rouget win yet another one?
I did, and I was about as underwhelmed by a classic as I think I've ever been. I can't imagine that anything that finished in the first 5 in that is a good one status. And whether a winner will come out of that race, I'd say, is probably doubtful.
What is it with derbies, Alistair? Because look, I mean, I think there's a slight elephant in the room with racing and the Derby, because I saw huge green spaces on the downs, TV audience down. Look, people like us who are bang into it, and it's special and it means a lot. But, you know, there is a problem with it. It's that while all the other big meetings are growing, that one isn't. The French Derby, as Justin said, come down 2 furlongs, underwhelming.
That's a non-event.
So what is there a problem here?
Well, I have to say, we're going back to what you probably regard as ancient history, but it isn't. I was one of those who were adamant that the race would be enhanced by moving it from the Wednesday to the Saturday. It was the progressive, intelligent, modern, good thing to do, and it was a catastrophic error.
Was it catastrophic? Because I think people seem to think that when they stopped running it on Wednesday, there was still 2 million people on the downs. It wasn't. It was dying on its arse then.
It was dying, which is why the move was made. But I think it's gone into a more terminal decline as a result. It's lost its one-off nature. It now competes against a lot of other stuff at weekends, and some weekends, of course, when there's major football on and things like that, it gets completely lost. It goes down goes down the plug hole.
Yeah, but no other top British race or meeting does that. Aintrie's thriving, Cheltenham's different class, Royal Ascot.
Yeah, York. You could even argue Goodwood's getting back to its old glories. What is wrong with the Derby? I don't.
It's one for another day and a bigger discussion.
I think somebody for a sociological thesis. I think it doesn't tick particular boxes with a lot of regular racegoers. I think that's very notable. Beyond that, I
pitch battles between yobs probably doesn't help either.
Well, no, it's got
enough of the press box.
Newmarket stage is a good ruck, so it's not only Epsom.
Well, I tell you what I found really sad. I walked back into Epsom afterwards, and all the shops and all the pubs were closed, and I thought that was pathetic. You imagine that in Galway, Justin?
That would be sacrilege.
They're still open from last year in Galway.
Absolutely.
OK, well, there was plenty of other magnificent racing going on, so we'll review that and we'll have a little early look at some Royal Ascot good things.
Here's Paddy Power's latest horse racing offer. It's money back as a free bet if your horse finishes second to the SP Fav at one meeting every day this month. Paddy Power, you're welcome. Max free bet £25, 18 plus. Please gamble responsibly.
Hi there, Bruce Millington, Alistair Down, Justin O'Hanlon and from Paddy Power, Rob Catson. We're reviewing a very interesting weekend and indeed a few days before that. Rob, go back to the ARC prices if you would. Can you give us a nice deep show on that? Because so many of the runners at the top of the market have had a run recently. I think it's worth, albeit it's October, it's certainly worth a quick chat and see if we can find some value.
Yeah, very much so. As we said, joint favourites postponed who are best price and Minding. Remember, Minding, if she runs, she'll get £11 off postponed. It'll be some achievement if you could give her that in a beating. 10's Harzan best price were 10's New Bay, 12's US Army Ranger and Duramente and Found, and 16's Bar. You'd have thought I've mentioned the winner by now.
Has he, Alistair?
You haven't mentioned Fascinating Rock.
Fascinating Rock.
16's.
Is that the one, is it, Justin?
Well, I think Dermot's in a pretty good position in the race. He's a good ground horse in Harzand, he's a soft ground horse in Fascinating Rock. And considering what Fascinating Rock did to Found at the Curragh, how is he 16-1 and she 12-1?
Do you think Miney will run in the ARC, Justin?
I'd say it's probably ground dependent as well. I'd say America is usually their end of season, and whatever they have to do to get her to the Breeders' Cup will be more important than getting her to Shanty.
I think you're right, Justin.
If you had to have a bet now, Justin, on the ARC, who would you be on?
Assuming that the ground is probably going to be no better than good to soft, Fascinating Rock represents the value at Paddy Power prices anyway.
And Alistair?
I'd be Harzan 10-1. I think it's a perfectly reasonable, fair price.
Really? You think he can go on and...
Yeah, no, yeah, why not?
OK, well...
We always tend to immediately knock the Derby, and we do the, it's not a great Derby stuff, and sometimes it isn't. But I remember going into last year's race, everyone saying it was a poor quality Derby, and it produced Golden Hall.
Yeah, no, absolutely right. Like I say, you can't tell till later on. Rob, would you have an ARC fancy at this stage?
At the prices, given that I think US Army Ranger will probably improve enough to beat Harzand at 12s, but I think if Minding is to be as good as they say, I think she's going to have to take on the Colts at some stage, and what are a time and a place to do it then in the ARC.
Okay.
I think she'll be taking on the Colts before then.
Yeah, well, we shall see. A quick look back on any other eye catchers from the weekend. Justin, presume you were out and about. Who's going into the notebook?
There was one that ran yesterday. We're getting back to basics here. It's the first time I'd actually seen a 2-year-old by Casamento, and there were two in the movement list all yesterday. And really, he produces really sizable 2-year-olds, and one that ran really caught the eye was a filly called Panda Green, trained by Gavin Cromwell. And unlucky in running fourth in a 7-furlong maiden list all yesterday. I think it'll win next time.
Gavin Cromwell is a real force to have on your side. He's an absolutely first-rate operator. And a lot of time.
And so's Justin. When Justin's beady eyes home in on one, you're best off listening. So, Justin, in case anyone heard it, what's the name of the horse again?
It's called Panda Green.
Panda Green, right, watch out for that one. Right, let's have a quick chat about Royal Ascot. Alistair, give me two horses you're really looking forward to seeing run and possibly winning some money on.
I very much like Portage of Michael Halford's. If he goes to the Royal Hunt Cup, he's got a Wolferton entry as well. Won a listing at the Curragh the other day. Was a very good fifth in the Cambridgeshire. I think this is a horse who's going to go through handicaps to group races, and this would be, he's got a £5 penalty, so he's running off 105. I think James Hopkins stops away at the 112. I've always liked Portage. Always thought he's had a huge handicap in him. They don't get much bigger than the Royal Hunt Cup, and I'm very interested in him.
OK, any others?
I'm going to keep an eye on Simon Crisford's 2-year-olds at the meeting. His 2-year-olds are running well. He's operating this year with much better quality input in terms of plenty of £200,000 to £300,000 yearlings are now running there. He won with a nice horse called Macaris the other day up at Haydock. And, you know, I just think watch where he goes with which. There's now plenty of opportunities at Ascot for 2-year-olds, and I'd be surprised if Simon didn't have a 2-year-old winner, and I think the market will speak for them on the day.
Good to see Simon doing so well in his training career.
Brilliant.
Excellent. Justin, who are your 2 for Royal Ascot that you're particularly looking forward to?
Well, funny that Alistair mentioned Michael Alfred in the Royal Hunt Cup. He also has Hassanur in there, who's came back to form there the last day and has much more big field handicap experience than Portage. But we'll see. The 2 I would take are Caravaggio in the Coventry or the Norfolk, whichever race he runs in. And after his performance at Leopardstown on Friday night, Order of St George only cemented his position at the bank of the meeting for me.
Yeah, I mean, Order of St George is a massive price, isn't he? Shouldn't he be odds on?
He should be close to it anyway, yeah.
What price are you now, Rob? Order of St George in the Gold Cup?
6 to 4 from 2s after Friday night.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you like getting stuck in, it's only 10 days away. I mean, 6 to 4 is decent, isn't it? I mean, he's not that ground dependent. It's hard to see one beating him, isn't it? Mind you, Alistair, of all the racing journalists who worship at the altar of Sir Mark Prescott, you probably are the lead choir boy. Can Palisade do it?
You got to ask Palisade, because he's 3 parts bonkers. He was owned by a great chum of mine I know for 40 years, and they sold out to the Qataris. Mark made a good point the other night that he's not just to say he's got a bit of foot, but there he'll look like somebody that's been on, the sort of heavy-duty cycle in the washing machine for about an hour before the race. He's got a mind of his own. He hated Andrea Atzeni and vice versa. So now with Oisin Murphy, I think he's got more of a squeak. But he's an old sod. I mean, he's perfectly capable of doing it.
Be good though, wouldn't it?
Be fabulous.
And I think that's probably the first time you've been described as a choir boy in quite some time.
I used to be head chorister when I was little, but there you are. Before I started smoking.
Glad someone could get a tune out of you. And what about you, Rob? Come on.
Powers are going 7s Palisade without.
7s Palisade without. That sounds good. Rob Catson, who have you got on your Royal Ascot shortlist?
Right, 2 2-year-old fillies. Friday we saw the first filly by Frankel, Queen Kindly. She was really good at
she was brilliant, wasn't she?
Yeah, she's out of that Lady of the Desert. Remember the same Jabber Abdullah colours? Yeah. I'd say she's Albany bound. She's 16th for that. And Wes Ward, who obviously has been mopping up at Royal Ascot in recent years, he's bringing over this filly in the Queen Mary called Lady Aurelia. And if you read what Wes Ward is saying, this filly is possibly the best he's ever had. She's literally already gone by the line, if you believe what he's been saying, and we're best price 11 to 4. She's supposed to be an absolute flying machine. Lady Aurelia, remember the name.
I normally leave all the expertise to you guys, but I'm going to chip in one. Can someone tell me why Evensong is as big as 5 to 1 for the Ribblesdale? Justin? Got to be a good thing, that, isn't it?
Well, I don't know. It's,
okay, you will do, mate.
Shows up, doesn't it?
Yeah, you will do.
I would have thought she was probably more likely to run in the Pretty Polly at the Curragh, maybe, but
I certainly hope not, because I've lumped on.
So even a Millington tank has been parked.
There is, yeah, and I was hoping for a bit of a backup from you guys, but unfortunately Justin's just made me turn pale with fear and doubt.
You're not the best colour to start with, Bruce, either, so that's probably not look like McCoy now.
It's working with you, mate. Right, okay, chaps, thank you very much indeed for your expertise and your wise words. Thank you for listening. We're back on Friday when we're looking ahead to the weekend and a little bit more Royal Ascot as well.
The Racing Postcast in association with Paddy Power. They pay more extra places than any other bookie.